Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. This time we'll be covering Legends number 4, the fourth installment in my ongoing Legends limited series coverage. Here we have another excellent John Byrne cover featuring Glorious Godfrey, a disciple of Darkseid, burning in effigy a number of our heroes hanging here in this dramatic cover. And this is a pretty dark cover, and this is going to be a pretty dark issue. And the blurb here reads, Cry Havoc. Cover date, February 1987. So we start out here in Star City. The rioting has been particularly bad in this part of the city, the looting even worse. And thus, the lone police car, cruising cautiously through the rubble, feels like it's moving through the heart of a war zone. So here we have two policemen patrolling. There's once again, if you've missed the previous issues, there's widespread civil unrest because G. Gordon Godfrey, Glorious Godfrey, disciple of Darkseid, and Sinister New God, has used his incredible charisma to spark outrage in the populace against superheroes. And this has translated into a lot of civil unrest. So these cops are in Star City and they are cruising around, and suddenly they experience extreme vertigo. And why? Because we see our first appearance of Count Vertigo in this series. Merely a tiny demonstration of the awesome reality warping powers of Count Vertigo. Oh, how unfortunate. They appear to have had an accident. So here, because of his reality warping power, they don't know which way is up or down, and thus they wreck their police cruiser. But before Count Vertigo can pursue his goal of robbing nearby banks, now that he's gotten the police out of the way, he is rudely interrupted. But with them safely out of my way, I can now rob that nearby bank and complete... that sound, what? Come on, Count. Surely by now you recognize the sonic calling card of the Black Canary. And here we have our title, Cry Havoc, and our splash page here with our credits. John Ostrander is the plotter, Len Wein the scripter, John Byrne the penciler, Carl Kessel the inker, Steve Haney letterer, Carl Gafford colorist, and Mike Gold editor. So our creative crew has been intact for 4 issues now. And we see Black Canary coming in with one of her trademark martial arts kicks. She has the sonic scream powers, but she's also an extremely accomplished close combatant. I've been waiting for you to make the wrong move, Vertigo. But before you can use your electronic illusion casting powers against me, You'll do nothing, sister, except put up your hands. What? So this policeman has bought into Godfrey's his message of hate against heroes, and he is ready to take Black Canary into custody, or perhaps even worse if she refuses to comply with his commands. His partner, though, is of a different mind. Are you out of your mind, Joey? What the heck are you doing, man? Just my job, Andy, ridding this city of scum like her. Come on, man, put that gun down. The canary's on our side. Yeah, that's what she wants us to think, but it ain't true. It's never been true. So suddenly they start to struggle, and the second policeman says, Go on, bird lady, get the heck out of here. Thanks, friend. That's what I owe you, Canary says as she exits stage left. So the struggle continues, and inevitably, sadly, tragically, and this is going to be just one of among many tragedies in this issue, the gun discharges. And the policeman who was in favor of Black Canary is unfortunately shot and maybe killed. Andy, oh no, my own partner. I just shot my own partner. But it's not my fault. No, she made me do it. That so-called superhero. I swear, I ever get one of them lousy costume creeps in my sights again, and I'm gonna shoot first and not even bother asking questions. So he calls into dispatch that a police officer has been murdered, and looking on with grim satisfaction, we know who this is, folks. There, my friend, do you see? Given the slightest excuse, man will instantly revert to his savage nature, his true savage nature. So here we see Darkseid has actually left Apocalypse, and he is now on Earth, kind of observing firsthand the tragedy of what's going on here. And he has been followed by the Phantom Stranger, who has been his constant foil throughout the series. An unfortunate few, perhaps, such is true of any species, but ultimately you will find that the flame of true heroism, the stuff of legends, is not so easily snuffed out. Still you persist, stranger. You are a most stubborn creature. So they go back and forth. And Phantom Stranger brings up another part of Earth. Even within the Earth, Darkseid. What about that, the primitive land known as Skartaris, where Travis Morgan, that land's greatest warlord, fights a ceaseless struggle in defense of humanity's virtues? A small problem at most, easily dealt with. Step forward, Desaad. Your master has work for you. Your will is mine, mighty one. So I think here, this is really to tie into an issue of Warlord, which Legends was a company-wide crossover event coming off of Crisis on Infinite Earths. So here, the Stranger mentions as a counterpoint to Darkseid saying the world is going to hell. Well, what about Skartaris? Things are doing great down there with Warlord leading the way. And Darkseid suggests, well, I'll fix that. I'll send Desaad. So again, great work here by our colorist, Carl Gafford, actually. I mentioned earlier that the colorist, that our crew was the same, but it's not. Tom Ziuko is not on this issue. Carl Gafford is. Carl Gafford's another one of my favorite colorists who did Suicide Squad for many years. So, yeah, he's a good replacement for Tom Ziuko. Anyway, nice color here to show this image of Warlord in Skartaris to kind of set off the fact that the Stranger is conjuring up this image of another place where Darkseid has yet to taint. But that will be fixed as Darkseid orders Desaad to go there and wreak havoc. So I'm sure if I covered all of these many Legends crossovers, and I'm not going to do that, we would find Desaad showing up in Skartaris and causing a lot of havoc. Fear not, master. Your most faithful servitor will not fail you. I'm certain you won't, Desaad. Not if you place any value on your insignificant life. Just oozing menace. Again, our art team of Byrne and Kessel is just phenomenal at drawing Darkseid as a huge, menacing presence. Very similar in weight and menace to Marvel's Thanos. So yeah, great visuals here. Great visual close-up on his craggy brow and glowing red eyes. Shift to Gotham City. Well, Shirley, my sweet, does the reality match your vision? Oh, it's perfect, Joker, honey, just perfect. And please, I'm Fungus now. Fungus Souffle. Who ever heard of a successful conceptual artist named Shirley? Fungus Schmungus, whatever. You wanted something different for your first exhibition, and I've given it to you. I'll give you anything your twisted little heart desires, Shirley Fungus love. Oh, jokey. So this is probably pre-Harley Quinn. I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure it is. So pre-Harley Quinn, pre-Mad Love, all that stuff. So Joker has this woman he is currently with. And then suddenly they are interrupted. How nauseatingly sweet. I'll try to get you adjoining padded cells back at Arkham Asylum. Welcome, old sport. I've been expecting you. Hey, man, don't. You're wrinkling the leather. Here, Batman grabs two of Joker's thugs and with his incredible fighting prowess, just basically clunks their heads together and knocking them out. Your latest killing spree is over, Joker. Care to come along quietly for a change? Surely you jest. Nice turn phrase there for the Joker. Back off, Bats, or the lady gets her ears pierced the hard way. Jokey, you wouldn't. Great Neil Adams or Marshall Rogers-esque Joker here from Byrne and Kessel with the exaggerated, elongated face and features really communicating his utter madness, that sinister grin apparent on his face. Without even blinking, my sweet, tell her, Batman. You're in charge, Joker. Now what? Good question. I thought there was some kind of presidential order putting wet towels like you out of business. There is. I ignored it. And that's going to be a trend in this issue, folks. The heroes are chafing under that Ronald Reagan executive order that heroes should not be allowed to ply their trade on the streets. And they're going to start defying it in this issue. Things are just too bad for them to sit on the sidelines. So here, Batman sends his Batarang around the building in a clever display of tactics. It comes crashing through the window, giving Batman just the split second he needs to distract the Joker from menacing Shirley and knocking him out with a single punch, as he should. Joker's no fighter. After what you did to the Catwoman, I ought to kill you, Joker. But then I'd be no better than you are, would I? And Joker can't really respond. He's out of it. And they say, see Detective Comics 570 for details. I'm not sure what Joker did to Catwoman. I'd have to check back on that, but it obviously wasn't good. Okay, so we're going to shift to Los Angeles, but real quick here, we have the aforementioned crossover issues are mentioned here. Blue Beetle number 9, Justice League 259, and Firestorm 56 are mentioned here. So this Justice League 259, I actually have Justice League 258 right here. I'm obviously not going to go through it. This is Legends number 4. But in 2 issues ago in Legends, Professor Ivo showed up. And he was threatening to take care of the Justice League. And that's exactly what he's going to do over 4 issues or so. This is part 2 of 4. This one is part 1 of 4. And real briefly here, it's pretty dark, written by J.M. DeMatteis with Luke McDonnell and Bill Ray on the art. Vibe, one of the newer characters in the Justice League, is attacked and eventually killed by one of Professor Ivo's android assassins. His hands actually detach and choke Vibe, seemingly killing him. And then in this grisly manner here, he seems to burn his face, leaving his calling card. And so Vibe is apparently no more. So I'm afraid Gypsy's going to befall, the same fate's going to befall Gypsy in this issue. I think these new characters are kind of taken out to clear the way for a new Justice League. But meanwhile, back to Legends 4, Los Angeles, where physical fitness, even the extreme, is as much a part of daily life as rush hour traffic. Here we see these incredibly muscled felons using their increased physical capabilities to break into a store here. Okay, fellas, hit it with all you've got, which in our case is plenty. You got it, Emma Sue, honey. So, and then she's gonna finish, they've damaged the door, she's gonna finish the job. Excellent command of the musculature here from Byrne and Kessel, just really cool. I don't think we ever see these characters again, but there's a number of sort of one-shot villains that'll show up through this series, and this is a group of them here. But just as they're about to cash in, a familiar green energy effect manifests, and this crazy monster, it takes out these muscle-bound felons with ease. And we see it's Guy Gardner. Try saying pretty please with lots of sugar on it, sugar. It won't help, but it couldn't hurt. You created that monster with that little ring? Who? What are you? Name's Guy Gardner, sugar. The one true Green Lantern. And here in a great, slick little long panel, he grabs them in an energy fist and flies off with them. So we get to see Guy Gardner again. And he'll show up again in this series, but not again in this issue, I don't think. And shift from Los Angeles to Chicago, where you can never tell what might blow in. As witness, we see this beautiful woman, scantily clad, walking into Chicago's first annual antique clock show. And she is met with great excitement by some of the show attendees, but suddenly something is not right as she begins to loudly, bong. My ears, hooin'. Ask not for whom the bell tolls, gentlemen. It tolls for me, Kronos, the time thief, at your service. Byrne and Kessel are so good that they can even make a crazy costume like Kronos's look sort of cool. As we see that this woman was actually an android, presumably created by Kronos, who must be some kind of genius. And speaking of service, now that Tiki here has served her pre-programmed purpose, I trust you won't mind if I just help myself to a few of your rarest, most valuable clocks. So he pulls out an inflatable storage system for the clocks that he's going to steal, and he's loading them into it when suddenly, wrong, friend, you're already out of business. Sorry, Charlie, allow me to introduce myself. I'm the Blue Beetle in your history. Great panel here. I love this version of the Blue Beetle, Ted Kord. He's got no real powers, but he's incredibly athletic and agile and has lots of cool technical gadgets. The original Blue Beetle, Dan Garrett, did have a host of superpowers, but I thought they were setting Beetle up as almost to be DC's Spider-Man, which would have been really cool if that had worked out that way. Love the costume. He does wind up in the newly reformed Justice League, which is cool, and becomes a part of the comedy pairing of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. His own series lasts for a couple of years, but eventually peters out. We'll cover some of those issues because I do think they're fun, and I love Paris Collins' artwork, who does the bulk of the art on that series. I've heard of you, Beetle. You're supposedly a real big man in this town, but here's where you get cut down to size. So then Tiki, the female android, blows up, and all these razor-sharp cogs come flying out. He exploded that lady robot of his by remote control, and its razor-sharp gears are as deadly as shrapnel, so Blue Beetle's trying to avoid them. Kronos uses the distraction to make his exit. I can't risk my master plan over a little lark like this. And just where do you think you're going, fella? Great details on the Beetle's costume here. Love the color and the design. Kronos leaps out the window onto this cool flying disc. You'll find out soon enough, Beetle, as will all the rest of this fine city. But I owe you one for spoiling this little escapade for me, and Kronos always pays his debts. Meanwhile, Beetle, he's run afoul of the police before. It's about to happen again, and he isn't having it. This time he deploys his rescue line faster. Look, we can debate the justification for the president's order from now until doomsday. But frankly, right now, I've got more important things to worry about, like sorting out my sock drawer. See you in the funny papers. Great shot here of him flying away in his high-tech bug vehicle and wondering what to do next. Those overzealous guards delayed me just long enough for Kronos to make the clean getaway. Okay, so those actually weren't police. They were security guards for the show. But at any rate, Beetle evades them. And we're going to shift for the first time in the series to Salem, Massachusetts. On a windswept hill above the witch-haunted city stands a cold and lonely tower, a tower without doors or windows, which for several decades now has served as home and headquarters to the man called Kent Nelson. So we're going to get our first taste of Dr. Fate here. I see by the crystal orb of Naboo that the situation is growing worse. Those once worshipped as heroes are now outlawed and reviled. Mobs rampage through the streets like animals. And this is Kent Nelson and his wife, Inza. I've been out there, Kent. I've seen it. It's time, isn't it? Time for him. I have no other choice, Inza. There is madness in the streets, and he alone may have the power to set it right. So, Kent Nelson is a fraught character because when he puts on the helmet of Naboo and becomes Dr. Fate, Naboo possesses his body. And there are times when Naboo does not want to give the body back. So there's a lot of tension in this character because of that. And obviously, Kent Nelson's wife, Inza, doesn't like that situation either. We have a very cool visual shift here coming. Kent, I love you. I know, honey. That's what gives me the strength to do this. See you soon. So he knows he's going to be going away consciousness-wise, and he's going to be replaced by Dr. Fate. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, there is not a character John Byrne does not draw well. So his Dr. Fate is also awesome, and Carl Kessel inking him doesn't hurt very much. Your husband is gone, Inza Nelson. The transformation is complete. Now there is only the immortal Lord of Order who shares Kent Nelson's form. Now there is only Dr. Fate. So he's going to go out and try to help get things back to normal, and leaving Inza in his sanctum here, surrounded by all these weird oddities. Very nice detailing here in the sanctum. But nothing has been normal in my world for years. So Inza is left behind, and Fate enters the crazy world to see if he can make it right. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., we're going to revisit Task Force X and the Suicide Squad. And a very angry Captain Boomerang. Look, we had us a deal, mate, and I done my part. Now I want you to get this flippin' explosive bracelet off of me. Trust me, Captain Boomerang, you'll get used to it, Amanda Waller says. She doesn't have any real desire to honor the deal that was made with them. But Rick Flag here in the background is an honorable man. He steps forward. Wrong, Amanda. That bracelet is inoperative as of now. Aye, thanks, mate. What the hell do you think you're doing, Colonel? What we promised we'd do if these people came through your little suicide mission alive, Mrs. Waller. I'm setting them free. Unlike some people, lady, I keep my word. Great. This is just a harbinger of things to come in the Suicide Squad ongoing series. These two are going to be constantly at each other's throats, even though they will over time develop an intense respect for each other. You've all been a credit to Task Force X, Flag goes on, and now you're free to go. Much obliged, mate. I'm out of here. So Boomerang leaves, leaving DC. Who knows about the others? We'll see. And our scene shifts to Gotham City, where Glorious Godfrey is holding a rally that's turning very dark. As suddenly, not only is he turning his ire against the superheroes, but now against the very government of the United States and the president. And now, in some twisted parody of justice, the president has ordered my apprehension, claiming that I am inciting you all to riot, to turn against the precious values I seek only to preserve. Do you believe the president's right, my friends? No, never. Speak to us, Godfrey. Speak for us. I hear you, my people, and I accept your mandate. A government that does not represent its people does not serve its people. Such an evil government must be overthrown. But how, Godfrey? How? With the help of these, my people, these symbols of the new justice. Now, who among you will be the first to lend his heart, his mind, his soul in the cause of a new America? Who will be the first to become a war hound? And here we just see in the background here, or in the foreground, but just part of it, one of the war hounds that was shown at the end of last issue, of issue 3 of Legends. So Godfrey is stoked the people into such a fervor that they're going to perhaps give their lives in the cause of his hate and madness. Yes, just as an aside as well, Reagan had ordered not only the heroes off the streets, but eventually he ordered Godfrey's apprehension because he was stoking such incredible fear, anxiety, and destruction in the country and the streets. Meanwhile, in New York City, it seems Captain Boomerang gets around, where the random rioting in the crowded streets has suddenly begun to pale before violence of a far more calculating kind. So we see Captain Boomerang taking advantage of the madness and chaos. That's right, you bleeding cobbers, run. Run like your miserable lives depended on it, 'cause they do. As of now, the streets belong to Captain Boomerang. And he thinks to himself, still can't believe them other jacks wouldn't come with me when I quit Flag's Suicide Squad. But hey, that's their loss. So Boomerang's gone crazy here. And he is not only destroying property, but he's using his gadget boomerangs to steal jewelry from a jewelry store. But the fun's about to be over. Eh? You? Who else? Well, fancy meeting you here, Kid Flash. It's Flash now, Boomerang. Simply Flash. Oh, right. I heard you was trying to fill the old boy's boots, but frankly, mate, you just ain't man enough. Want to bet, Boomerang? I may not be quite as fast as the man whose costume I now wear, but that still makes me more than fast enough to handle a jerk like. But he doesn't account for Boomerang's gadgetry, and one of them creases the back of his skull, stunning him. You cut me to the quick, Flashy. And now me trusty Razorang will do the same to... But Flash is not alone. We see a tail swipe here from a familiar green individual, Gar Logan, the Changeling, in the form of a thematically appropriate kangaroo. No, I gotta be dreaming. Come on, Boomerang, put up your dukes. Just give me one good shot. I'll knock your balding block off. But then Flash gets up and stops Gar. Gar, no, Boomerang isn't your enemy. Changeling, he's mine. And that means I have to be the one to defeat him if the Flash is ever going to stand on his own. So again, that identity crisis that Wally's going through here as the new Flash is coming to the fore. But suddenly Boomerang warns, look, mates, it's real flattering, you two fighting over me and all. But right now, I think we got us some bigger problems. What the heck are they? So we have two warhounds bounding toward them. I don't know, but they look hungry. So, meanwhile, back on Apokolips, Darkseid has returned home. Apokolips, where the flames from the fearsome energy pits is as nothing before the fiery passion of this bleak world's absolute ruler, the demonic Darkseid. Operation Humiliation continues precisely according to plan, stranger, with all of Earth's so-called superheroes either in hiding or branded as outlaws. Soon, the only legend left on the lips of the transformed humanity will be mine. Not so long as the noble beings remain, such as Superman, still live. Even though he has chosen to obey the presidential order, he still remains the single greatest force for good on Earth. Aye, stranger, on Earth perhaps. But when the Stargate is once more open, we shall see how he fares here on unforgiving Apokolips. Next month, let's slip the dogs of war. And we see Darkseid opening one of his boom tubes and shooting his Omega effect through. So is he going to bring Superman to Apokolips to deal with him personally? We will hopefully find out in Legends number 5. Quick perusal of the letters page. They've finally gotten some letters on the actual release of issue 1. The last issue, they featured some letters on photocopied versions of number 1. And of course, generally, letters pages only print positive letters, but there have been instances where they've printed complaints as well. But everything in these letters is really positive. People are digging it and enjoying what they're seeing. Real briefly, Ken Mann writes, Mike, what can I say but Legends has lived up to its hype and then some. I think you guys have come up with a solution to Captain Marvel's problem. Pit him against some serious villains and have him do something other than grin all the time. So one thing Mike Gold points out here toward the end of the letters column is how much people love the return of Captain Marvel / Shazam and his inclusion in the wider DC universe. And Mike Gold, the editor, hints that he'll be getting a Roy Thomas written limited series, Captain Marvel / Shazam limited series, as one of the spin-offs from Legends. So that'll be something for folks who are fans of Captain Marvel at the time to look forward to. So folks, that has been Legends number 4. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like and subscribe, tell your friends, and I will bring you another episode of Scott Reads Comics soon. Thank you.